Bam.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Follow the Money podcast. It is your guy Stretch once again, and I have a friend of mine here who I am excited to have on my show, especially in the month of May here in Indianapolis. He's a really good friend of mine. I want to welcome Sam Schmidt. Hello.
It's an honor.
Thanks for coming.
Been watching.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar with racing, can you tell me your title? What is your role in racing right now?
Yep. I'm a co-owner of McLaren SP Racing, which is an IndyCar team. We compete full-time in the series, which is not just Indianapolis. It's, Long Beach and Texas and Florida, all over, 17 races a year. And that's, for American open wheel racing, it's the top level. So, owned it 50% with a guy named Rick Peterson.
Yep.
And then Aero Electronics out of Denver's a major partner, as is McLaren F1 out of England. So,
yep. Aero McLaren SP. Schmidt Peterson.
I'm just an S.
Right. So for everyone listening, I met you at my job working for Southwest, and to me, you were a gentleman in a wheelchair who I would help, and that friendship grew into where we are today. And we've done a lot of weird things together. Like I would say, we have videos together. You've taken me out to the track a few times, and now you're on my platform. So
Excellent.
I'm really appreciative of your kind heart and how you've welcomed me into your world.
Well, no, that's I firmly believe you treat people the way you want to be treated, and in that situation, it's interesting because pre-COVID, I probably flew 40 times a year.
Yeah.
And had a variety of carriers, just depending on where I was going. But I'm adamant that if it was ever a choice between Southwest and it's got to be Southwest, simply because of their platform. The people anywhere you go, 99% of the time are really friendly. They know what you're looking to do, and of course we had a system we built up over years for my situation. But it was always cool coming to Indy because. I got to get transferred from the aisle aisle seat to a wheelchair, and Stretch was about the only guy in America that just come over the back of the seat and plucked me out and put me in a wheelchair like nothing. Really easy for whoever was flying with me. So it got to be a system where I'd text him and say, "Hey man, you working today? I'm coming in." So it was great, and that fostered and cultured, and still got to get you out to Long Beach.
Exactly. I got to do that.
But it's been cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this month is important for you, and you guys have 3 cars competing to be in the race.
Yep.
What is the mindset going into May?
Yeah, you want to win the championship, and you want to be competitive all year, but the Indy 500 is the holy grail. That's what everybody's after. It's your Kentucky Derby, it's your Super Bowl, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're preparing for this probably starting last November with the cars that are on track. They don't race any other time except for this race with those chassis. So they've been smoothing them out, making them fast, making them light, and you come to this point. So we added a 3rd car, just to have more information and try to be more competitive. And that's Juan Pablo Montoya, who, has only raced here 5 times, but he's won twice. So that's the kind of guy who went over the car. He knows the track. Plus he's in his 40s, and he's won in Formula One. He's won in NASCAR. He's won in IndyCar. And so he comes with a lot of knowledge. We got 2 other young drivers they could really use to be a sponge off of him. So it's a perfect storm. And out of the box, we've been pretty fast so far. So we just won the last race in 2 races ago in Texas which is fairly similar.
Yep.
It bodes well because it's an oval and it's all about speed. So if we can manage to do the same thing at Indy we did at Texas, we'll be pretty good.
Yeah, that's important to win in racing.
Makes everybody happy.
Right. And I had Connor Daly on earlier, and he was talking about how you mentioned before, like this is like the Super Bowl for IndyCar. But there is a championship too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we're fourth in the championship with one car, and Pato finished fourth last year. And so he's really got a chance, I think, to win the championship. And this is a double points race. So it not only is about $2.5 million to win, which is huge, but it's double points. So, if you have a bad day here, it can really have an impact on your season championship.
Well, that wouldn't be good. Where do you guys feel how do you feel going into qualifications?
Well, I've been coming here, 25 years, first as a driver and 20 years as an owner. And, you kind of get a sense for where your cars are at the first day. I mean, even though there's 4 days of practice and 2 days of qualifying, if you rolled out yesterday or early in practice, 30th, you ain't ever going to catch it up. You're not going to find that extra speed because it's just the car and the way it's built and all the rolling mechanisms and all the effort that went into it. And fortunately, we rolled off pretty quick. So, it's Friday's what they call Fast Friday because they actually turned up the boost quite a bit to try and go roughly 230 by yourself.
Wow.
In round numbers. So that's when we'll see what everybody's got in qualifying trim. But we hope to make the Fast 9, which is kind of unique now because if you make the Fast 9 on Saturday, then you go in reverse order on Sunday for the pole position. So that's kind of big.
Yeah, because you get to beat the faster car. Yeah, that's
and
good.
We've had 2 pole positions in 11 and 16, and it's just you only get to wear that for a week, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to be in. Let's talk about your days as a driver.
Mm-hmm.
You were Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started racing when I was 5, but won a lot of races, won some championships, and then went to IndyCar in 1997. And then
how do you start racing at 5? Like, I can barely walk at 5.
A lot of it just has to do with your parents, know, what they do and what their interests are, because some people start playing basketball, some people start playing tennis or golf, and a lot of times it's directed by your family's interest. And
right.
My dad raced, you know, so he raced. So before I got a bicycle, I got a motorcycle. And I started racing motocross. And so every weekend, either I was racing or he was racing. And it's a great family sport. You grow up in it, and that's kind of all I ever wanted to do. Growing up in Southern California, my hero was Rick Mears.
Yep.
And he won 4 Indy 500s, and he came from Bakersfield, California. And it's like, man, if he could do it, I can do it.
Yeah, so. Good. And as people can see that you're in your chair now, and you had a wreck, and you've become quadriplegic, and you are a champion for that now. I mean, I think that a lot of the things that I read, I see about you, you've inspired me to do so many things. Can you just talk about your life now? Like, how did you transition from all that? Like, that was a traumatic moment in your life. Like, what was that moment like?
Yeah, I mean, we just won a race in 1999 in Las Vegas. And about 4 months later, I was paralyzed, practicing in Florida. And so, yeah, it turns your life upside down, your family's life upside down. But, we went through 6 months of inpatient rehabilitation and then went home. And, you got all the nurses and PTs and all that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, my wife was like, you need to find something to do. You're driving me nuts. And all these people coming and going. So it's about a year after the accident, we started the race team. And I figured, it's a way to stay involved in racing. It's what I love. And it gets me out. I mean, you got to understand, when I think 1999, I was on the road 250 days racing. And my wife, a 6-month-old, 2.5-year-old, And so that was just our life.
Right.
And then I come home and it's 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's, we found that if I don't travel 100 days a year, it's a problem. So,
Yep.
So we just built a system, and I'd say we did it for selfish reasons. I wanted to race. I wanted to win the Indy 500. I wanted to win the championship. And if I could do that as an owner, it's kind of second best thing is doing it as a driver. And it's actually a lot more complicated because, just driving, you got to worry about yourself and your physical fitness and your, mental stability and just all those kind of things you focus on. With a team, I can't turn a wrench.
Right.
You got to find the right people and put them in the right places
Yep.
To make the dream happen, So it's been a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. And in doing so, like you said, it's been motivating for a lot of other people. And I'd say after the first 5 or 6 years of intensive rehabilitation, I was frustrated that I hadn't got my arms back or that I hadn't got more mobility than I did. But I was on a ventilator, and so I guess I did make some progress to get off of that. But what I think I realized over time was just not having the use of my arms gives me the ability to talk to people that do. Say, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I go into a lot of hospitals and a lot of VAs, and I just tell people, hey, it sucks, but you can turn this into an opportunity.
Yep.
Whether it's Olympic sports or doing something with your life that you always wanted to do, but you didn't have the opportunity. Well, now you get the time. Now you get the opportunity. What's standing in your way?
Right.
And so as our foundation has evolved, we funded a lot of medical research, but now where it's at, frankly, is solving those problems, through physical rehabilitation or just saying to people, what is your dream and what's standing in your way?
Yep.
And when we get that far, we can say, okay, can we break down that barrier? Is it technology? Is it transportation? Is it, what is it? Okay, Now you got no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Be a productive member of society and don't be drained. And, if you have to use your arms, you're better off than me, so you got no excuses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the, it's kind of the mantra or whatever. And I'm just doing what I'm doing. I want to race. I want to win. My kids are grown up now, empty nesters. So if that inspires a lot of other people, then great,
Yeah.
Hopefully motivates them.
So what was your motivation? Because you motivate people. What motivated you to be so driven, which I'm going to get into later?
Yeah, no, I ask that question a lot. Like, or people ask me, like, why, what gets you up in the morning is just, I think first was faith. Our family's always had a really strong faith. And then the family itself, I'm very fortunate to have a good, community with my wife and my team and everybody that lets me do what I do.
Yep.
And then motorsports community too. When we started the foundation and now we're 21 years into it, they've just been supportive the whole time, So if it's not, there's kind of layers of motivation, and I just, I don't know whether it's the athlete in me that just can't let it rest,
Yeah.
and want to keep winning, or what, I think there's, people are just built that way sometimes.
Right. Well,
Don't give up.
I alluded to driven.
Yeah.
You are very driven, and your passion led you to start a facility for rehabilitation called Driven, right? We want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's in all the research we've done, all roads eventually point to intensive rehabilitation. Whether you get a stem cell procedure or drug therapy or some other process to take care of, and I'm not just talking spinal cord injury, we're talking ALS, MS, Parkinson's, some of these disorders, everything that's being worked on will eventually need intensive rehabilitation. So 2 years ago, as part of the foundation, we opened a Driven Neuro Recovery Center in downtown Las Vegas, in the hub of all the redevelopment and everything's going on, and just want to try it out and see if there was a need in the community, and kind of good news, bad news. It's tremendous need. It's like bursting at the seams. We're full. We're helping a lot of people, and so now we're looking at expanding that. So.
Wow, good. And that facility, you help multiple types of people, correct?
Any neurological disorder. Yeah. It's a different format. There's there's some of these around. In fact, in Indy, there's one called NeuroHope. I mean, there's a lot of facilities like this around the country. I think the biggest difference that as we evaluated doing the facility was we have an open gym.
Yep.
So we got a bunch of equipment that's wheelchair accessible.
Yep.
People can roll up and work out from their wheelchair or with their caregivers on their own whenever they want. A yoga studio, medicupping, acupuncture, have a full-time psychiatrist.
Yep.
Because a lot of it's the mental rehabilitation in addition to the physical. And then, of course, we have the one-on-one training, which is the core part of it. We got a place where caregivers can meet and talk and exchange ideas, a coffee shop type thing. And then, so it's really worked out well. And again, the demand is huge, unfortunately. But we've had everybody in there from CP, and every piece of equipment also has pediatric type attachments.
Yep.
So we've worked with kids, ALS, brain injury. So a lot of it's related, you know. So and there's a lot of training that goes on, but Brandy runs that, and her. So
yeah, shout out to Brandy. I just saw her at the airport the other day. One thing that I noticed last year, you did an unveiling of your the new team, the name, the color schemes of the cars and everything like that. I've noticed that you had a few people on your team that were impaired in a way. Like there was a couple people. Do you mindfully make those choices to try to hire people that are in that situation?
Yeah, for me, there's a lot going on in the world as far as diversity and challenging people, et cetera. For me, it doesn't matter what your situation is or what your color is or what male, female, whatever. I think we've got 4 or 5 females that work on the team, turning wrenches.
Yep.
We've got Robert in a chair who used to drive for me, but has gone through his rehabilitation and had a lot of success. And he's our driver liaison, kind of driver coach. So yeah, if I can hire somebody and give them a reason to get out of bed every morning, just like myself, then more power to it. But they've got to have the talent. They got to be able to do the work, just like anybody else. So
speaking of inclusion and diversity in racing, for me, you brought me into racing. You are like you were my catalyst. Like you brought me into it. And what I notice is like Black people aren't really into IndyCar racing. Yeah. And then recently I noticed, I watched a video where you guys worked with Undefeated, which is like an urban, like a street, out of LA, a street clothing kind of company, and they painted one of your cars. That's the kind of stuff that kind of brings different communities into a situation that isn't involved in. So what went into that idea, and who approached who?
One of my mantras since not being able to use my arms and my legs is you got to surround yourself with good people. Yep. And we got a great creative team and communications team and everything. They just think of good things to do. And so that was a partnership with Views, which is one of our primary sponsors. Yep. Went out and got Undefeated to design the car. Big launch. Those guys will be here next weekend for the race. And I mean, to your point, a year ago, IndyCar launched this huge, massive diversity program to try and bring inner city kids out to the track, put them in a go-kart program. Maybe they become a mechanic. So it's a very broad program. To your point, I mean, like I started out when I was 5 because my dad raced. Yep. I don't think there's a lot of non-Caucasian situations where that, but we're getting more and more of it. I mean, really, the numbers are growing as far as the accessibility. Yep. And there was a large group even out last week at the Grand Prix called Force Indy, and all those. There's a guy here locally that has a go-karting program and a mechanic program, and just trying to, give people an opportunity. Maybe they're not a driver, but everybody in this industry makes good money.
Right.
And so if you can funnel some people into that, I think we're going to see more of that in the future. There's huge demand behind the scenes for everything from PR to mechanic to engineer. And doesn't matter,
there's a
what
lot
color
of
you
things,
are to do that.
Right. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can pit. You can. I mean, if you're athletic, you can change tires. You can do all that stuff. I think. I just think the visibility needs to be a bit bigger. Like me myself, once my eyes were opened,
that's cool.
I couldn't get enough of racing. I love it.
And I applaud Roger and Mark Miles and everything the Speedway's doing because they're fully supporting that program. And I think you're going to see it grow. NASCAR's got the same thing going with Bubba and all of his programs, and just try to help kids start them out in legends and work their way up, whether they're in the car or out of the car. So,
good. So, back to your accident and getting into your situation. Drivers now, do you think that now the cars are a lot safer? Yeah,
totally. I mean, I've been called the crash test dummy a few times in the paddock, because, they're really, they learned a lot from my accident and they have a lot of sensors on the car and they learn from every accident they have. I mean, we've had some unfortunate tragedies, Justin Wilson and some other guys in the last 20 years. But, now they've got the aero screen and that has already protected some guys from some head injuries. I do think the cars, even though they're faster than they've ever been at 230 miles an hour, they're also safer than they've ever been. So
good.
It's good.
I want to talk about your Corvette.
Uh-oh.
Your Corvette, and you have your license now. Let's let everyone know about your Corvette.
Everything happens for a reason, and we just happened to have a relationship with some people in Denver, and this Aero Electronics company, which I'd never heard of before, decided they wanted to design a car for somebody to drive that couldn't use their arms and legs. Because they sell a lot of components to the automotive industry, they just kind of wanted to have an example of, what they could do. And so we got together, going on 7 years ago now, and they said, we want to design this car. And I'm like, man, I'm in. And as it evolved, it's been great. I mean, we drove it. I think 2014 was our first run at Indy, did 107, and then since then, we got a lot of milestones. So it's gone from the Stingray to the Z06 to now we got a C8 mid-engine, which is pretty cool. Dang. So we go do exhibitions, we do stuff for their customers, we do trade shows, and then each year we kind of set goals. Let's do something crazy. So
do you drive that in Vegas?
I've driven a lot in Vegas, mainly for filming and it's weird. I've got my driver's license, but probably the most stressful time for me driving that car is on the street.
Really?
Because there's a lot of other people that just don't know what we're doing. Right. I mean, I'd rather drive on the track anytime, So in January, we went over 200 miles an hour in the Z06.
Wow.
So that video should be coming out soon. And then I was able to race it in a autocross type format in Vegas about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And the car's back here this month. So we'll do some things. And then really cool, just found out we're going to go to England in July for what's called the Goodwood Festival, which is this massive European automotive festival. So you have to be invited and everything. And so
nice.
Got an invite there. So we're working on getting into the country, get out of the country and all that kind of stuff right now.
There it is. How would you define success? What is success to you?
I think everybody can create their own definitions of success, and I think for me it's evolved over time, right? It's like, all I could think about earlier in my life was getting to the Indy 500 and winning the Indy 500, and then you could have financial goals, you could have family goals, but I've even though I'm in this situation, I've just been really blessed with, great kids and marriage that's lasted this out, because this thing isn't easy for any party. And I think the statistic is the divorce rate's 85%.
Dang.
If somebody gets injured in a situation like this. And so, really fortunate there. And so success, I mean, yeah, I think it's just ultimately setting your own goals in life and achieving them and then setting more.
Yeah. So do you see yourself as successful?
I think so, in the sense that I still haven't won the Indy 500 as an owner.
Yeah.
Kind of did with Dan Weldon back in 2011 because we owned the car.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, I want to win the Indy 500. I want to win the championship. Want to check a few more boxes, but man, it's about as good as it could be.
Okay, good. What is next for Sam Schmidt? Because like when I first met you, you to me you were a big deal, but like so much more you have accomplished so much more since when I first met you. So what else can you do?
We definitely want to win the race at the end of the month. No ifs, ands, or buts.
That's it. Immediate future.
Immediate future. Yeah, it's. I feel like I'm getting old. I've been sitting in this wheelchair for 21 years. There's going to be some things coming out later in the month, which were a goal that was set quite a long time ago. And frankly, I can probably talk about it because it'll be released before this goes out. But I always said I wanted to walk my daughter down the aisle.
Yep.
And we were able to accomplish that about a month ago.
Nice.
And that wasn't combined with Aero. I mean, it's really an amazing company. It's a publicly traded $30 billion company, but their whole thing is they want to use technology to help people, live their lives better. And when you talk about applying technology to people with disabilities, that's when Alexa and Siri and all these other things take on a whole nother, world of opportunity.
Yep.
And so they're really into that. And that, I think, is the basis for the Corvette. Like all the Corvette stuff and what we just did, they didn't patent any of it. They come out publicly and say, if you want it and you're going to help people with it, we'll give it to you.
Wow.
Which is, it's just not normal for a publicly traded big company to spend that kind of money and not keep it. So anyway, it's been great working with them. This recent project with the exoskeleton, because they've got exoskeletons for paraplegics readily available, but nothing for my level of injury. So I had to make quite a few modifications to it, and we're able to get up and, kind of check that box. That was a big one.
That's good.
And you say, what's next? We worked on that for a year, and physically, mentally, and everything went into it. I'm kind of tired. It's like, I think it was sit back and wait, just before I figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Just, enjoy the moment.
Well, I think, May is a very busy month for you. And, I asked that what's next, and you really can't get past next week. Like, that's kind of important.
That's the biggie.
Exactly. I am very thankful that you came to talk to me. And I always have a question for my guests that they're not prepared for, but, and your question is, as a driver, if you could race and take second every race of your career or win the 500 once, what would you choose and why?
No brainer, man.
You just
gotta win the 500. That was an easy one.
Yeah, but but you will win the championship every year if you get second every race.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask every driver in that paddock, would you rather win the championship or win the Indy 500? It's gonna be the Indy 500.
Dang.
I mean, that's the deal. I mean, it's like
they need to change it to you just when you win the Indy 500, that is the championship. Then, like.
That'd make it more valuable.
Yeah, but, that's crazy because
I mean, this is the 105th running. It's just there's so much history there, and so much. There's guys that race 25, 30 times, and the most anybody's ever won it is 4. It's just so weird when you look at the history of the race. People have dominated, dominated, and then break something 5 laps to go, or just so many times the Andretti's.
Yep.
I've had a lot of challenges there, but it seems to pick its own winners,
Yeah.
And you just got to hopefully it's your number. But But yeah,
that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That was an easy question.
Totally easy.
It's the greatest spectacle in sports. That's a really dope name.
It'll be, last year was weird, no fans.
Yeah.
This year is still light, 135,000. I mean, it'll feel good compared to last year. But I think 2022, we get back to full capacity. We were there. I mean, we were there in 2019.
Yeah.
It was shoulder to shoulder. Grandstands were full. The place was rocking. There's nothing like that being out on the grid. They march 1,000 troops down the front stretch. They fly over the stealth. It's just,
yeah, it's exhilarating.
It's a big deal.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for coming, Sam. I hope to see you more this month.
Okay.
I need to get out there and check you out. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Always go to followdmoney.com to buy you some stuff, donate me some money, and check out some episodes. Peace.